Hello everyone, welcome to today's lesson on CRS 01, where we'll be looking at the arguments and internal or external evidence for Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch. So to start with, we must first understand what the Pentateuch is. So the Pentateuch, also known as Torah, consists of the first five books of the Hebrew Bible, which is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Now this Pentateuch has traditional view of Mosaic authorship, which was that Moses wrote the Pentateuch under divine inspiration. Now, what is the traditional view? We have traditional view that according to Jewish and Christian tradition, Moses is credited with writing the Pentateuch, which contains accounts of creation, early Israelite history, and the giving of the law. That's the Ten Commandments. And also have divine inspiration, whereby the traditional view holds that Moses received divine revelation and inspiration from God, enabling him to write the Pentateuch accurately and authoritatively. Now, the traditional view of this evidence has some challenges, such as the textual criticisms and the documentary hypothesis. For the textual criticism, it holds that modern scholars has raised question about the authorship of the Pentateuch, citing inconsistencies, anachronism, and stylistic differences within the text in the Pentateuch. And for the documentary hypothesis, it proposes that the Pentateuch is a compilation of multiple sources or documents written by different authors or groups over time. So now let's look at the arguments in support of the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch. So now what are the arguments in support of that? We'll be looking at the internal biblical evidence supporting Mosaic authorship. Now for the internal biblical evidence, we can see one, biblical testimony, whereby the Pentateuch itself attributes authorship to Moses, and this can be found in book of Exodus 17, verse chapter 24, chapter 34, and Numbers chapter 33, and also can be found in book of Deuteronomy 31 and Deuteronomy 32. We also have another internal evidence, such as the New Testament's confirmation, whereby the New Testament also affirms that Moses was the author of the Pentateuch, and this can be found in the Gospel books and book of Acts. That's Acts 3, verse 22. We also have another argument in support of the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch, and this can be seen in Moses' role in Israelite history. Now, Moses' leadership role can be seen how in the way that Moses played a central role, and it is plausible that he would have been involved in recording the events and the laws of the Israelites, as he was their leader at that time. And Moses' literary ability can also be attributed to that aspect, because Moses' education and background had already equipped him with the literary skill he needed to write down the Pentateuch. Another argument in support of the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch can be seen in the literary style and structure supporting single authorship. Now, for the literary style of the Pentateuch, some scholars argue that the Pentateuch exhibits a unity of style and theme that suggests that a single author or compiler wrote the Pentateuch, and this is true because it can be found in the various chapters of the Pentateuch. Now, I also have Mosaic style in the sense that the Pentateuch uses first-person narratives and direct address to the Israelites, which is consistent with Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch. Another argument in support of that can be found in the New Testament affirmation of Mosaic authorship. I've said that earlier under the internal evidence. So let's move on. Now, what are the limitations and challenges of these arguments in support of the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch? One limitation or the challenge there is the textual complexity, whereby the Pentateuch's textual complexity, including variation in style and content, possesses challenges to the traditional view of Moses being the author of the Pentateuch. And secondly, the diverse perspective, whereby modern scholars had offered different opinion or different views on the authorship of the Pentateuch, and the traditional view, which is not universally accepted, can also be seen as a limitation or a challenge. to the arguments in support of the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch. Now, the arguments in support of Mosaic authorship highlight the significance of the traditional view while also acknowledging the complexities and the challenges involved in it. So we are done for today. We've looked at the arguments in support of Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch. Now, our next lesson we'll be looking at the arguments against the Mosaic authorship of the Pentateuch. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys next time.